everyone. Katya Woods with the Philadelphia Tribune. How are you today?
Good, and
Doing
you?
great. How you doing? What are you hiding back there with that blurred background?
I moved recently, so my wall is not looking the way I would like it to look.
Okay, I feel you. I feel you.
No, because I had a really cool background, and I want my peoples have expectations, so we got to get it right
I
before
like it.
We
You got to
get it. We
stand it.
get
You
it.
got to
Yeah.
stand it. I like it. Okay.
Exactly, exactly. I really like this movie. I love that James Vanderbeek was in there. Shout out to Varsity Blues. As day one fans know. Talk about this. First of all, I love the fact that the girl was like, I have dreams too. I'm not about to mess up my whole situation for you. I love you, boo, but I gotta do me. Talk about that, because I don't think we don't show that enough. Because normally it's like the girl, I want to go to college where my boyfriend goes. I want to do what he wants to do, and she's like, no, I wanna see where this dancing that I worked really hard on goes.
I loved that. I love that part of Dallas, and it was one of the things that drew me most to this project. It's refreshing to see a female lead on screen so confident, so driven, and very sure of herself. It's not that she doesn't think she can get the guy, it's that she thinks she knows she can get the guy. But ha, and knows she can get the guy and chooses something else because she has her eyes set on it. Um, I think there's a lot of power in knowing who you are and what you want. Um, I think it's a beautiful thing on screen.
Yeah, and dance is like, for those of us that dance, like dance is like that. It is like
Right.
tunnel vision, you don't get it's not like a do-over career as well. You don't get to do, opportunities come along. And let's talk also about, I think too, it's also a lesson for some boys to understand, like, just because you're the cool guy
Hmm.
and you're, the quarterback star. I also like the fact that even though he is the star athlete, he too is fighting for agency over his life because he's got to live up to everybody's expectation. And on top of that, his father is like, this is option A. There is no other option.
Right.
And we don't often think about the cool kid having problems. We always look at the cool kid, we're like, what are you complaining about? Like everything is easy for you, not realizing that things can be hard and things aren't always as they seem. Talk about that aspect.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you nailed it on the head. I think it kind of just stems from life, you know? Not everyone has it figured out. And in fact, no one has it figured out. And that is just part of being human. And that's something in this film that I think is portrayed so well is just the rawness of it. And yes, Drayton is cool, but he also, like you said, is fighting for those choices over his own life. And I think he's finally wanting to kind of make decisions for himself. And that alone comes with a lot of responsibility, but also just like that overlying just pressure from, this reputation that he has, but also his dad. Obviously, that is a pretty apparent pressure in his life. But yeah, I think it just goes to show that everyone's human and we all have our baggage.
So, Andrew, what do you want? I always say, I wish someone, if I could go back to my 20s, you guys are still way younger than me, and I wish someone would have said, this is your time for you to try things. This is your time to not have to worry so much on the end result, but on the journey. What is it that you want young kids, like, especially because these days, like when I was younger, thank God we didn't have social media. Like
Mm.
my 20s, all my mistakes, you had to be there in order to have seen it. Now it's like
Mhm.
everybody's
No
got
proof.
like, you know what I mean? You got to stay in the house, in the basement, otherwise, and even then you're not sure. So what do you want young kids? Because I think it is insane. Like I tell my daughters in their 20s, I'm like, please live, travel, try
Right.
different things. If it doesn't work out, that's okay. Because it's sad that, it takes us getting older to be like, man, I wish somebody would have told me that, please get out of that. You're not happy.
Yeah.
Don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. I think if I could pass on anything to the younger generation, I talk about this with my mom. Like I was so fortunate when I was growing up that my grandfather, he was a really big presence in my life. And he was always so interesting to me. He taught me how to do magic tricks. There was always puzzles around, and he showed me things that require like a lot of time, patience, and skill, and also are not. There's nothing guaranteed. There's no outcome that's guaranteed with it. It's just you're doing something just for the sake of doing it. I think that maybe the younger generation, because of the world that we live in now, their eyes are set on something else in terms of, they want to make sure that whatever they're putting their time into is going to be able to turn into a career or make the money,
Of course.
pursue something that has no goal or has no guaranteed outcome. Don't be afraid to put 10,000 hours into something that you do by yourself in your room in front of a mirror, you know, playing with balls and cards and things like this, like I think it's great for character building. I think it makes you more interesting as a human being, and it broadens your horizons a bit. So don't be afraid to try things still that, may not pan out career wise, but yeah, pursue something that's just a hobby. Just do things for you.
Yeah,
You know
what's
what I
that?
mean?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, guys, it was such a pleasure chatting with you guys today. Much success with the project and everything else that you've got going on. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
And
you.
good luck with that wall back there.
Hi, Kathy Woods, the Philadelphia Tribune. Hi, Justin. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, thank you. I was just saying that this seems to be like there's like a little bit of a void of movies for young people where we get into topics dealing with what young people in this day and age are dealing with. You know what I mean? Like when we were younger, we had like the Breakfast Club and all these
Yes.
things, and we felt so seen and heard. Talk about why it's important, why it was important for you to make something like this. It wasn't just like the usual, famous, popular guy, this
Yeah.
girl outside, a boy meets girl. This is a little bit more layered. What attracted you to this?
Well, I think the source material was just so fantastic. The original novel, of course, was already a hit sensation, and that tells me one thing. It tells me that it connects with the youth, and how the themes are so universal. I, know my own journey to becoming a director was very similar to hers, hers being Dallas, the lead character, who is a headstrong dancer that wants to follow in her mother's footsteps to become a star, right? And I think that we all have those aspirations. We all have those desires. But what makes this film so nuanced, I think, is also the beautiful writing that came with it. And the themes that are also explored. Not only are you talking about themes of dreams, the passion you have for your craft, but also the tough choices you have to make in life. And you know, what I also feel is that this is the kind of film that is supposed to be uplifting, but also motivating for people to just see the world, to challenge themselves with, the way of thinking. And guess what? Our lovely lead character, Dallas, she opens up when she allows and opens herself to having romance in her life. This is a character who's so strict and so rigid, you know, that, it's like having blindfolds on. And finally, when she's allowing a new experience to occur, she discovers a different side of her, right? And I think that that's what the beauty of this film is that there are, as you said, it's layered. We talk about, discovery, self-discovery, and in a particularly fun and fresh way that I believe does break some conventions, especially for the youth.
I mean, I think we don't talk enough about how young girls are ambitious too, that young girls
Yes.
want things, right? It's so understood when you're a boy. And I think it's also for boys. It's like when you're a good athlete, you want this, you want to please, but we don't ever ask them to, like, is this something you want or is this something you think you're supposed to want because you have a talent and because everyone around you, right? So I think the moral here also is we have to give permission for our kids to want to pursue their dreams, stumble along the way. And I don't think we do that enough. We project a lot on our kids. And, even as much as people don't like to say, like this generation too wants to live up to the expectations of the adults around them. And sometimes don't have the tools. So I think like I love the fact that we're seeing these two young people who are on this journey, but there's a lot of doubt. There's a lot of like, I don't know if I can, I don't know if I should. And how much responsibility we have as adults. Talk about that because we don't say enough like
Mhm.
you're gonna make mistakes. And guess what? That's really where the jewels are in the stumbles, not the victories.
Absolutely. And I think that it's also because of this particular unique context that we have Dallas who doesn't have parents that are alive, and she has to navigate those things. But you're absolutely right, right? That this film uh, allows audiences to discover what it's like to be in her shoes and relate to those ideas. And I would like to hope that parents who watch this film will also begin to understand the power of having a dream, the power to actually want something for yourself that may be unconventional, but is needed for your soul. And I was just so pleased that, that the script allowed for all these different nuances. And we have almost two parallel parental stories going on. You have Miss Alicia, the dance teacher. We don't quite know what her past is. I mean, I've invented an entire backstory for her. I was collaborated so beautifully with Deborah Cox, a legend, of course. And, the fact that she herself is a mother now in real life and being able to kind of share that kind of knowledge and wanting the best for her child, I think that that's the new age of the generation. And then contrast that to James Van Der Beek's character, you know, but it comes from a real place. And I think I'm so happy that this film explores all these different things that I was able to, as a director, really express on camera. That as you said, I really think is needed these days. That I would really like parents to be able to talk to their kids, much like Noah's dad does with him later on. It's not a spoiler. I'm just saying that, they have conversations and they had to resolve the differences, and a lot of the trauma, a lot of the disagreements they could have been changed and solved with open communication. So I'm just glad that we were able to kind of translate and show that. And I would really hope that, not only will kids watch this film and be able to relate to those characters and be like, I know someone like Dallas, or I am Dallas, or I know someone like Drayton who has those burdens, whether it's a personal burden, whether it's a loss, or the idea of legacy, right? There's so many different themes at play, but so relatable at the same time. And I would hope that these kids will also watch it with their parents too, and learn something from it. And ultimately, it's a positive film. It's uplifting. It's lovely. It's cute. And we need more of that these days.
Absolutely. I love the fact that James Van Der Beek is in this. This is like a full circle moment. Those of us that love Varsity Blues, where his character like went through something similar and now he's a dad. How ironic was this? Or like, did you want James for this? Or did you inherit James? But either which way, I love like he went from being the young guy to now being the dad.
He was part of the conversation actually from the very beginning, and we were just so pleased that he was also attuned to this particular project, and this brought so much. I don't know. It didn't take much for me to realize he was the only choice that we had, and he was just so perfect, as you said. Not only because I mean, also throw on his personal life being a dad, but even with Varsity Blues, it's like the perfect continuation. I think it's brilliant. It's completely brilliant that you have this guy who we've all known and loved as the heartthrob quarterback, now the father of a heartthrob quarterback, also have those conversations and show that it's not like his character has evolved. I mean, it's not quite the same character, of course. It's not the same story, but the parallels are there. And I would like to think that fans of RC Blues would also be fans of this film because there's so much more to explore, and James himself brought so much to the table that was so juicy and so vibrant. And it was great. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Justin, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to chat with me today. Best of luck with the film and everything else you've got going on. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to chatting with you again in the future.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
I love this role for you. I feel like, as someone who is the daughter of a dancer who danced, dance teachers don't give it to us sweet. They give it to us straight with no chaser. And I love the fact that, why this is, on this is a sports movie. We see that, it's important for girls to see it's okay to be ambitious and it's okay to have people in your life that give you permission to be ambitious, that are like, no, it's okay to be selfish. Like the boy will be there, all this other stuff will be there, but you get one opportunity to pursue your dreams. Talk about that, because we're not taught that always as girls.
That's true. A lot of the times you're taught that you have to compromise. And I think with Miss Alicia, she sees how driven Dallas is, but how this relationship really is affecting her and affecting her consistency in, not being as disciplined as she would like. So I think Miss Alicia really leans on her instincts to try and find a way to have her utilize the relationship in a positive way that she can pour it into her art. We're not told that we can have permission to do that all the time. So I think it's a great message, for young people to see, like, you can be, really, really passionate about your job or about your art, but you can also leave space in your heart for a relationship, for love as well. And it doesn't have to be fleeting. It can be, you can find a way to work the two. It might be challenging, but at least if you're willing to find a way to make it work, it's worth a shot.
Absolutely. And it's also important, I think, one of the things in this movie is to find your own voice, right?
Yeah.
I think in this day and age, more than when we were younger, there's so much outside distraction of what they think they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Or I wish someone sat me down in my days and were like, it's okay, try different things.
True.
It's not good, doesn't mean that you
Yeah,
are,
the
that you're
expectation.
not focused.
Yeah, the expectation of having it all figured out at 19, 20, 21. Seriously, do you, that's not even enough time to like even get your thoughts together. You know what I mean? So you do have to give a little grace when it comes to helping these young people figure out what it is that they want to do. And it's okay to change too along the way. You know what I mean? Maybe something doesn't really work out for you. But I think with this film, like the fact that the two of them were really, really passionate about, football and dance, and they were still willing to try to let their relationship have a shot as well, is like a testament to like wanting to have it all and willing to risk it all to have it all.
100%.
Sometimes that's what's required.
Yeah. And I think high school relationships are so hard. I mean, I remember thinking like,
Oh,
this was going to be my everything, right? And then you're like, you look back and you go, oh, silly you. Somebody should have just said that. I think that's the other thing too, is because it is like your first real taste of caring about someone and having those deep feelings that, you don't really know how to process it. You have anything to compare it to. So there's empathy on that end too, because we're all like, oh, you want to kind of like put your arms around them and be like, this is a process, you know what I mean? They'll talk about that part because just as adults looking at it, you're just like, oh, I gotta go through it a little bit in order for you to know you can come out on the other side.
Yeah, that is the hard part when you're a person that is the mentor and you got to watch them go through the emotional roller coaster of love, and you cannot step in. You got to let them figure it out on their own because that's the only way that they're going to learn. I've been in that position a lot, even with my own children, it's hard to not step in and do it for them, but that's what is required, letting them understand that it's a process and they have to feel every moment of the process. And you know, and then at the end, they ended up going with their gut anyway, you know what I mean? Which I think at the end of the day, if they make the decision and they figure it out,
Absolutely, you
then
know.
then the job is done.
Absolutely. Well, Deborah, this is an absolute pleasure. And I
Yeah.
love this you because, you know, just when we think, you know, we know everything about you, you keep surprising us with your talent, you know? And
Thank
love,
you.
again, it's such a pleasure meeting you and speaking with you today. Thank you so much for
Likewise.
the time.
Thank you. Take care.